potential white tigers there. They could, in fact, the Boers right now could take down the whole place. It would be ugly. They'd go out Valhalla style. You'd read about it, but they could take the place down. They could monkey wrench the place down. They could do whatever they wanted to do if they chose to exercise power. But you see, the Zulus can't get anything they want by dealing with any of the African tribes necessarily. But they don't have to. All they have to do is cut a deal with the Boers. They don't have a problem with the Boers. Yeah, the Boers had that African misfortune. The Boers had this famous African misfortune. They found themselves a diamond mine and some gold mines. The next thing you know, all those pink rabbits from London came running in there and said, "Well, that's not your gold mine. That's not your diamond mine. That's now mine. Yeah, my name's Oppenheimer. That's mine." Yeah, you got to share that with us. That's okay. That's how that works. But that's what they said. They said those Boers had an African misfortune just like us, and we want Zulu land. We don't like this open borders. We don't like this chaos. We liked it better when we had a good partnership, and they did what they do best, and they did what. And then he walked in Orania. Orania is this little colony of Boers that has always been written off and everything else. But you know, when you have someone like Jacob Zuma walking in there and saying that the Zulus are going to try to learn from this and learn how to be as self-sufficient as possible so they can set up Zululand. When they're making these statements, well, something's going on there, but you see, he can't make a move. He can't do anything unless he cuts a deal with someone. Well, who's his natural ally? Well, Zululand has nothing to do with Boerland. They're totally, I mean, they're in the same territory. They're in South Africa, but they're not. They're not overlapping each other. There's no conflict there necessarily. They've lived together for hundreds of years without really a whole lot of conflict. Well, he's got to do a deal with someone. And so, interesting enough, he's done something. And I'm not saying that your friend who's a Boer farmer shouldn't get out of there tomorrow morning. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying something's happened, and that's the way this stuff has been working. It's totally blindsiding people how fast this is coming up, how fast things are happening and setting up. What are they setting up? I'm not fully sure. I mean, I know the direction, but anyways, for him to get what he wants, he has to give someone else what he wants. And the Boers were totally blown away. The Boers were like, all hope is lost. We might as well just put our tombstones up, get ready for the Valhalla moment, and try to get out of here, or continue to get out of here. They couldn't believe that these Zulus would even think about doing a deal with them. Well, they have power. You're forgetting that you have power. People always want to do deals with someone with a lot of power. And maybe his Soviet handlers had Zuma there for 20 years ago for a particular reason today. Maybe 15 years ago they put him there. Well, that's basically what Mbeki was alluding to all along, that he's a plant, he's an undercover lover. He's there to do something at a certain point in the future. Was Botha like that too? Was he just a traitor under disguise? I don't know. I mean, you'd think he was, but that's how this stuff has been operating, and it is blindsiding people. And our enemy is getting very, very frustrated because they don't know who's their enemy. And that's how things are working for us now. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's very frustrating if you're the average white guy looking at this trying to figure out what on earth is going on. It's frustrating for me, too, because I'm getting good info, but I only know something happened, and something is happening there. But you see, that's how things are going to work. Basically, these two sides are squaring off. One of them visually is a lot of, well, you could say it's a lot of Hebrews. Visually, that's what you see, but there's a lot of Protestants there too. You got the Jimmy Carters, you got all that, and they're the top of Anglosphere. And the Anglo banking is squaring off for their New World Order, but they've had the rug jerked out from underneath them, slowly but surely. Since 1998, I mean, they've been getting crushed. They have been getting crushed, piece by piece. And a big piece has been lost just recently, in regard to all their different banking stuff, because if they didn't have it all together and rolled out by 2007, late 2007, they were in trouble for a variety of different reasons. I'm not going to go into that, but that was their thinking at least, and it seems to be right because they're panicking. They're acting very irrationally. Then you have another side. Who's the other side of the equation? Well, who do you think it is? Who do you think it is? It's a wide mirage of Europeans, but behind it sits what I label the third power. And that's something that's there. It's there, it ain't moving, and who knows what they have. Who knows what they've been up to, because they are wide sky. They are completely wide sky. You know, when you read that book, when you read the stuff coming out of Shark Hunters, or you read that Nazi International, read it. Read it. Open up your head, open up your eyes. But they're playing for some long-term game. They're playing for something. They're playing for who's going to roll out the next level of technology, and the type of technology that they have that our race has its hands on right now, from what I've seen and heard, and these aren't from stupid animals, you know, it makes a neutron bomb look like a it makes your average hydrogen bomb look like a Roman candle. Yeah, we're dealing with some heavy duty stuff here. So they're playing a very big game, and they're playing for keeps apparently. And one side is on the ropes. One side has to have a coalition. They always have to get the Indians involved or try to get the Chinese involved, but they don't really want to deal with them either. They're more interested in joining the other side. That's what's funny about it. And I may touch on this some more in the future, but the other side is just homogenous with a single vision of the past and a single vision of the future, and they're going for something here long term. They've been going for it a long time, and that's what you're into. You're coming into an end game, and someone is panicking, panicking, and that's good. It's good. It's good to have an enemy panicking, and when you get into something like something that just happened, and I'm going to touch on this, is James Bond Braun. You know, it's almost a stereotypical type of thing. Here's a man that actually I was actually surprised. He walks in and shoots up a Holocaust museum. Well, Chairman Mao's not going to shoot up a Holocaust museum because they don't have any power. That's a waste. But you're dealing with a common sense of oppression among non-victims, and you're dealing with a guy that has a terminal illness, and he's going after his enemy. It's almost like he almost fell into a classic conflict model, didn't he? And he went after an object of that. He went after your local Holocaust museum. Well, that's you know, shooting a black security guard. He doesn't have any power. It's from a revolutionary act. By the way, you're not a revolutionary, period, unless you cause a revolution and win. Then you can say whatever you want. Until then, you're just going to be a terrorist, especially if you're committing any act of violence. But I scratch my head over this because here you have a pretty bright guy. I've seen the book he wrote. I looked that up just 2 days ago. I looked up the book. This is a pretty articulate fellow. He's got a terminal illness. He's going to go after someone. I mean, he's a white tiger. A very dangerous situation for the system. He could monkey wrench something. He could go after someone with a lot of power, but he went after. It's almost like someone put a chip in his head. I always say this in regard to Abe Foxy Foxman. They're just stereotypes. What we're seeing here is stereotypes. It's very weird stuff. But you're not a revolutionary until you cause a revolution. And you better understand something. Chairman Mao's not going to be shooting security guards. That's a waste of time. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, this guy was intelligent. He fell for, what it looks like to me, he fell for a classic conflict model. He went after an object. You know, it's like these Africans used to shoot up everything and say, yo, you know, white people are an object of our oppression. Well, they don't have any power. If you're going to jail for shooting someone white without any power, you know, that's stupid. On the other hand, if you go around shooting if that African that's spraying a gun at me is going around shooting federal judges that are white, well, that's a different story, isn't it? You call yourself a revolutionary, I guess, while you sit in jail. But you're not a revolutionary until you cause a revolution. Our enemy is really only afraid of large monkey wrenching. And we can say this because the Pentagon has put out these reports. They're afraid of large monkey wrenching. In other words, someone shutting something down, which is what they're afraid of because they'll lose money and they'll lose control. They're also afraid of something like James Bond Braun going into probably some kind of like you know, big meeting among some big boss people or something, you know. But they're not afraid of someone shooting up a Holocaust museum. They're just going to use that energy to shove something down your throat. And that's what they've been doing. ATF is all over the place among white nationalists and anyone who's ever advocated any type of violent act at all, whether it be Hal Turner or Tom Metzger. They're going to be all over it. If they haven't already, they will be, because that's what they do. They're going to try to use that energy to do something. But they are grabbing at straws because these guys are very visual. They've been out there. They don't know where their enemy's at. They know where portions of it are at, but it is all wide sky. And it's kind of funny to see how this comes about, and also tragic. If you make yourself a target for that old owl, that is their symbol, an owl. An owl sees best in the dark. An owl has to turn its head to see, though. Yeah, an owl can't turn its eyes, but once it locks onto you, it has to commit. There's a lot in their symbolism. They always use an owl. Yeah, they use an owl all over the place, but that they gotta commit once they lock on, and they will keep after you. But they are desperate. When you have UFW halls being raided, when you have stuff like this happen, and they are desperately going after people, it